accidentally have sound on. But I am ready to mute it if that is the case.
Well, don't mute yourself because we're live according to all the technology that I'm looking at. So
fantastic.
Hey,
and
everybody.
It looks like I have done this properly. My setup did not blast the replay, which is the thing that maybe I'm getting the hang of this. How long has it been now? How long have we been doing this?
I think this is episode 8. I should probably know these things.
I think it's a little longer. I feel like we've done a few more. We started in September.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's December, which is kind of blowing my mind right now that it's already December 2nd.
What's up, StuartVideo.com? My little graphics work. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Were you having problems with your graphics recently?
They weren't going up the way they were supposed to. But it's all fixed.
So. Hello to Andy. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, Andy?
Yeah, I'm excited about today's show.
Yeah.
This is the pre-show and there's really no rules on what we talk about on the pre-show. I would like to share that I had a great impromptu lunch creation today.
Oh,
and I sort of hinted at that earlier today, but I didn't actually tell you what I did. And the reason this is exciting to me is that typically I am a recipe follower, and so I usually don't kind of just freestyle it in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did today was I did some meal prep on Sunday. So I had some already cooked chicken and some quinoa that was ready, and I had some spinach, and I found this peanut sauce at the supermarket recently. So I ended up kind of doing sauteed some shallots and then threw in the chicken and threw in the spinach and then the peanut sauce, threw it on the quinoa, and then put a little bit of fresh cilantro, which I don't usually do. And it was delicious. A little bit of a Thai flavor to it, and I was very happy, and I thought I would share that.
Where are you going to publish this recipe? Are you writing a book, or are you going to post it in the comments? So if people want to have, was it good? It sounds delicious.
It was really good. Okay. I think I might repeat it tomorrow because I still have some leftover of all of those things. So I'm just saying I don't have shallot. So maybe I'll have to mix it up with a little bit of onion and garlic tomorrow instead.
Technify, tell me about it, man. I was so low, but now fixed it. Problem solved.
You're all good.
That sounds very good.
This is real-time feedback from our audience, which is excellent.
Which is great. Also, if our audio sounds bad, please tell us, because we have 1 minute and 7 seconds left to fix that. So would love.
Yeah, are we on a similar? I'm actually trying something different today with my audio. And so just tell me if it's jacked up or
yeah, and tell me if
totally
I
wonky.
Tell me if I sound like a transformer, because in my headphones right now I sound like I'm about to fight Optimus Prime, and it sounds like I just transformed and I'm about to throw down, and I don't sound like Bumblebee because
would that make me Optimus Prime? Because that would be pretty badass.
Are we gonna fight? I don't want to fight you, Cat. I don't want to fight.
I transformed from last week's stick person into this version, so I did a little transformation. And hello, Callie. I'm so happy that you have joined us. That is awesome to see you here today. Callie, I think maybe you missed my description of my lunch today, but at some point I'll have to tell you about the grilled cheese that I made last week. I tried something very different. It was pretty good, and it was inspired by Callie's creative grilled cheeses. Oh, she says tell. Maybe at the end of the show, I will tell you about my grilled cheese because our pre-show is over and now it's just zeros.
Look at that top tease. That's good tease quality right there. That's tease 101.
I'm trying to learn from the best. But also, I was stressing out because I could see that the countdown timer was at 0, and that means it's the start of the show.
Yes, I was extraordinarily stressed out about that situation too. I was like, what are we going to do? The time's out. And I still didn't get to talk about my lunch.
Yeah, do you want to tell us, or are you going to tell us at the end?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you now. It's a good meal. I feel like everybody should know right now. I took 2 hard-boiled eggs. I put them in a bowl. On top of them, I sprinkled salt and ground pepper and ate them. So, it's not shallots.
Basics.
It's basics.
It's nature's multivitamin. It is. The egg's got some good stuff.
And you might be thinking, oh, Paul, what an individual. To hard-boiled eggs, that must have taken time. And to peel them, Paul, so impressive. Oh, great work. Nope, I bought them already pre-hard-boiled. I just unzipped them and popped those bad boys into a bowl. So,
hey, it's efficient.
So we have 2 recipes available today on Are We Live Now?
We do. This is one for the archives. People are going to come back to this one for meal inspiration and have multiple options.
Mm-hmm. It's true, Kelly.
That's well.
That's
yeah.
Oh my
or
God.
nature's multivitamin.
Oh God, I like to think of it as a multivitamin. I like to think of it as a multivitamin.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
This show has taken a turn. Kat, how are you? What's going on? How's life?
So I am doing pretty well. I was thinking about today's show, and I know that we like to check in on how our live streams have been going, but honestly, haven't really been doing anything except this show. However, I do have some stuff on the horizons. Now,
is it good and bad? Do you want to do
the official start of this segment?
Yeah, so you're saying what you want to say is something good and something bad and something meh?
Sure.
Great.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
So I didn't actually. I think I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, but I will share that I am working.
You just said you have things to talk about, and you're like, Paul, you talk.
Okay, I will share my update, but then I do want to hear. I don't have a good, bad, and meh around live streaming. Well, okay, that's not totally true. The good is that, no, I'll share my good, and then we'll do your, let's go back and forth.
You have a lot of good. There are lots of good things happening.
Well, I was going to say a good thing is that last week I had something come up at the last minute. I was not able to be on the show. And I think that what's good is knowing that when you have a show like this and you've got a co-host, that the show can keep going on even when something unexpected comes up. And so I was super appreciative that we have this format and that we have the co-host situation and that you're willing to take the wheel. I really enjoyed watching your interview with JV last week. And so I was really happy that that was an option. And so I'm just feeling a lot of gratitude towards that. So that is my good from the last week.
That is.
How about you? What was your good?
That is super nice. Thank you. I'm glad I have your back. It's what we always say in improv. We have each other's back. So I'm glad it was fun. It was a good interview. Definitely missed you. Glad you're back. What's good going on so this is something I challenged myself. I don't typically challenge myself. But if you don't know, November was National Novel Writing Month, and there's an organization out there. It's called NaNoWriMo, and they challenge you to write a novel, which is 50,000 words in 1 month, which breaks down to about 1,600 words a day. Challenging, but manageable. I, a little while ago, thought, wouldn't it be funny, wouldn't it be hilarious to stream and try to write 50,000 words in 1 day? Oh, wouldn't that be a treat? As an idea, funny. But I decided on Monday, which was the last day. Well, I decided on Sunday, I was having a bad weekend and I needed something to kind of like challenge myself and get me out of my funk. And I remembered Monday was the last day of November, and I had not yet written a word. So I streamed for about 10 hours on 10 or 12 hours on Monday trying to write 50,000 words. Did not get there because turns out 50,000 words, that's a lot of words.
It
Oh
is.
boy,
It's a lot.
that's a lot. I got to 30,000 and then my mind, what I've told everybody, is just melted. I literally could not tell you anything about that day other than like sitting, writing, walking to get food. I took a 15-minute nap and that was like heavenly. And then I came back to write more. It was, oh boy, oh boy. And it was fun.
So that was your good though. Why did you pick that as your good?
That was good because it was something uncomfortable and I don't push myself enough. And I was freaking out I wasn't going to get to 50,000 words. And I want to talk with Suzan, spoiler alert, that's our guest, later today, about goals, because she did a really wonderful video a couple days ago about accomplishing your goals. And I knew on Monday I was not going to get to 50,000 words. And there was a moment, and it was this weird moment where I was writing and talking with somebody in the chat and asking for suggestions. And there was just like this weird peace that came over me. This sounds really dramatic, but it was strangely dramatic. And I realized the thing that was bringing me the most happiness was just connecting with somebody, talking with that person in chat and using their ideas. And I was like, that's good enough. If I get to 50, great. But that moment where I was able to let go of that goal set at 50, it was a really nice liberating moment. And then I was cool just getting to 30 and walking away from it. So that was good.
So yeah, I popped on, I think when you're around 17,000 words, and I was like, oh, is he gonna, I don't know, this is a tough slog.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought it was an awesome idea of, oh, I can still be part of NaNoWriMo on the last day. And 30, that's impressive. I'm pretty impressed that you got to 30. And I like that there's that audience engagement part, and that this was not a solo mission, that you brought along your audience for the ride.
Yeah, they would throw out suggestions and I would incorporate that into the story. So yeah, it was fun just to improvise the whole thing.
Is it readable?
So I used Google Text Talk to Type. And if you've never used it before, boy, I would say 90% of the time it gets it right. But that 10% is wildly off. And actually, it was so off, sometimes I used what it thought I said as a suggestion for the next sentence, because it was
that's smart.
Yeah, so it actually worked out pretty well. One of the
like
main
another audience
names,
participant.
yeah, Shut Noom became a main character because that was Google's talk to text thought I said Shut Noom. And I was like, yeah, that's a name. I'm keeping that character. So
I back in the day, and I feel like maybe you mentioned Dragon Software, but back in, I think 2002, when I was in university, I got the Dragon Software, so the discs and the headset, and I thought, this is going to change my life. Yeah, it didn't. It did not change my life. It was not that useful. I barely used it, but sometimes I fall prey to those things that say they're going to help you, but I ended up just typing anyway.
I want to get Dragon. Now I want to get Dragon because I've heard good things. And Kat, I think it's going to change my life.
So we'll come back. We'll circle back to that and we'll find out if it actually changed your life or not. Or if you've got the headphones sitting somewhere. Well, I guess nowadays you have all the technology. Back in the day, it was one of those little guys.
Yeah, stay tuned. We're going to get recipes later, and you're going to find out if Dragon changes my life. The back end of these shows are going to be full of content.
Well, we're not going to find out at the end of today's show
No,
if
that's
it
true.
changes your life. Yeah.
The
But
next
you are going to
episode.
find out my grilled cheese experiment at the end of today's show. So the back end of a dragon. So, and yeah, Suzan, who's going to be on here soon, so I guess she could share it with us, but she says it feels weird to use it. I think speaking uses a different part of our brain than typing. I agree. You're in
Mm.
a different mode, 100%. So, yeah. Um, did you have any bad or meh that you can share?
Boy, did I. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So I'll keep it short because I know I can be chatty. Um, on Saturday night, how do I say this? I lost my mind. So I was streaming and everything was great, and we were all playing games, and it was very fun. And then people suggested, "Hey, let's play the game Among Us on the live stream." And I was like, "Great, cool, this will be wonderful." And I tried to set it up. And a few minutes into setting it up, I realized that I couldn't. And I don't know if you've ever complete I don't know if you've ever had this moment, but just being completely honest, like this show is all about being honest in the live stream experience. Um, my mind just kind of like weirdly collapsed on itself. Like I was so suddenly filled with shame that I couldn't make it work. And I was like, I should know technology. That's the thing I really love. But because I couldn't set it up and I couldn't make it work for people, I was instantly just super depressed. I was so depressed. So I actually ended the stream early and said, "Hey, sorry, I can't make Among Us work. Sorry about that." And I really had this weird like flight or fight moment, and I just flighted. Um, yeah, it was very strange and embarrassing that I couldn't fix it. Embarrassing to run, but completely honest, that's what happened. So that was Saturday night.
Well, I am glad that you're willing to share that. I have had that experience where in the moment things are just, they feel like they're spiraling and you can't get the reins back.
Hmm.
And so you just do whatever you can do. Now, the moment I'm thinking of was teaching a class, and I just felt like it went totally off sideways. I couldn't get it back. I was so flustered. I just couldn't be present. And so, yeah, my mind kind of went on a little bit of a trip, and it really does affect you, especially when you're doing something that you love, something you identify with, something you usually feel really good about. And then when it goes sideways, it's just this pit in your stomach.
Yep.
So it's a real experience. So I'm glad that you shared that. And I'm sure you are not alone. If anyone in the comments has had that experience as well, even if it's not necessarily in live streaming. But I think when we put ourselves out there, um, you're in public. So it's I think that's a true thing, and we don't want to just sugarcoat it and pretend like these things don't happen. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because I think we're all in that boat where, there's moments that fall apart. And yeah, Andy, 100%, a marble jar moment. And yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting moment to kind of like, just experience. So,
Now, I think what people are saying, which I agree, and I want to drive this home too, is that our audience is saying there is no shame in maybe not being able to do something and a tech fail or any of that stuff. Even if you're actually good at something and you still mess it up, there's also no shame in that because you are human. We are all human, and this stuff happens. So I think, yeah, public alert. Oh, during a live
it's
interview.
and it's so funny because that moment happened last week, and I didn't mind that at all. And I could kind of sense that John was maybe a little embarrassed that the alert went off. But for me, I was like, that's totally fine. And it's so funny that we forgive other events and we're not thrown off by other events. But when we're the ones that it's about, I don't know how much it bothers us. Like everybody in the chat on Saturday night was like, "Oh, that's fine. Let's just go back to playing Jackbox." But I was so fixated on not being able to make that moment work that it just kind of like, it really crushed me, which is just funny how consumed and important we think something is. And everybody else is very forgiving.
So maybe if that happens again, you can kind of take a little pause and just remind yourself that nobody cares. I would forgive anyone else who did this. And if the audience is like, "Hey, we're still cool to hang out," then to kind of reframe it and see if you can stick with it next time and
So if
learn from that experience.
what I'm hearing you say is there's a lesson to be learned from Saturday's
Perhaps.
event.
Yeah,
Interesting.
maybe just a little.
Interesting. Yeah, there's something there. There might be something there.
Well, there's a reason that we're sharing it with people here. Otherwise, why would we do this? Oh, and CK's antics. CK says, I blame 10% drink. That's good context because you had cider
I didn't add
before
that
it
part.
happened.
CK, I was trying to sound classy and just blame the situation, but yes, there is some evidence that I might have drank too much and my brain was not functioning at peak performance that one who hadn't ingested that amount of alcohol would be capable of producing. Anyways.
And I like Andy's suggestion, ask Suzan. So we can, let's talk to Suzan. So I think I'm going to hold off on, I had mentioned some updates and I do have some updates, but I can save those at the end because I do want to get to our guest. She has been patiently waiting for us to bring her on. And so Paul, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, I got buttons. I'm ready to bring her on. Everybody, you know her. She's brilliant. She works with introverts. She helps people be better. So I'm very excited to learn and find out about her streaming experience. Please welcome to the stage, the screen, Suzan C.
Welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm really excited that you're here.
I love that audio. I feel like I just walked on the stage. Yes.
I know. Applause, even when they're just a button, make you feel better.
It does. It's amazing. Yeah.
Paul's applause are better than my built-in applause. Just saying, when I was running it a few weeks ago, on my end, I hit the applause button and it was weak. So Paul has the better applause out of the two of us.
Listen, I can't take credit. Credit goes to Epidemic Music. I just searched for applause and took it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I've been in there. They have like a bunch of different types. So you've really got to go through and find the one you want. So.
It's fun just to kind of go through and figure out who would use the sound and why would they use the sound. So, yeah. So, Suzan, I'm curious. How long have you... so I have so many questions. One, how long have you had your company, SuzanCz?
That's a complex question. SuzanCz has existed for about 1.5 years, but I've been in business for 12 years. Prior to that, I was the comm coach or the communication coach.
So that's perfect. And that's kind of what I'm really curious. When did you realize you needed to be more present on Facebook? Because you stream on Facebook, correct? That's where you live stream?
Yes. Yeah, so, I'm on Facebook now. I love the idea of doing YouTube at some point, but Facebook's definitely my place.
Cool. And if anybody wants to check it out, there is a link below in the description. So you should. They're really great videos. And when did you pivot to that? And when did you think that will help my business?
So let's be clear. Nobody pivots in a minute. Every pivot is, you see it coming, you're ignoring it, you see it, no. Oh, wait, maybe I will. Really long, dramatic, what does this mean to me and my life and my business? And then someplace along the way, you flip the switch and you're like, yes, which is what I think Kat's been experiencing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, there's all of that. And I saw it coming prior to SuzanCz. I was really very focused on email marketing and the intricacies of the little things that build to the marketing strategy. And as I moved towards that pivot, I had become more about what is your overall marketing strategy? And there's all these things underneath it. And so I had shifted just to a much bigger picture. And I was really looking at authenticity. And that's the line. Authenticity is what really started the shift. And then from there, I moved into introverts who I'd always worked with, but just didn't realize it. And when I realized that, that's what flipped the final switch. So that was like probably 2 years ago. That's a long story. I hope it made sense.
No, it did, and it's great. Why? So you said then you moved into introverts. Like, what was it about? Because you're not an introvert yourself, or you had a term. You're a little bit introvert, but also a little bit extrovert.
I'm a little bit of both. It's called ambivert, and it's a
Okay.
halfway between, and 80% of the population is ambiverted. We just have tendencies in one direction or the other. A lot of people think they're introverts, but really they're ambiverts with an introvert tendency. And I was more extroverted, and most of us do this as we age. We get more into an introverted stage. Because we get more comfortable in our skin, and we get more comfortable in our heads, and we become more, self-sufficient and things like that. And those things move us towards introversion. And I think that self-comfort is a lot of it, maturing of emotions. But as I said, I always did work with introverts. I just didn't realize it. I didn't realize I had surrounded myself with introverts, but I had. My mother's an introvert. My sister's an introvert. I figured that out like 2 years ago. And my fiance is an introvert, and all but one of my clients are introverts. And I was like, oh, that's who I work with. Oh, but it took some time to figure it out, and to realize that I really wanted to intentionally work with introverts, because I didn't realize that was a challenge until I tried to work with extroverts and realized that the problems I help introverts with, extroverts don't have. So
Well,
it came to me as much as I went to it.
so I was just going to say that one of the things that I really enjoy about hearing this evolution is that you noticed what was already organically happening, and instead of fighting it, you said, okay, this is happening, and you took a look at it and considered it and decided to go with that. And I think that's connected to a lot of things that we do in our lives, but especially when it comes to business or even something like live streaming, where you have this initial idea, you got to start, see how it works. But when we pay attention, sometimes we'll say, okay, this seems to be really resonating. This seems to be landing. And when we're open to it, and if it connects with what we want, then that's a really good merging of the two things.
Yeah. What exactly what I think is, if we take the time to notice it and we're willing, I think those two things really have to come and play together. I knew that I wanted change when I transitioned into SuzanCz. I just didn't know what it looked like. I was not just bored of what I was doing. I was sick of it. And it was like, oh my God, anything else. And I thought that this change was like really big and dramatic, and I was going in a completely other direction. And then I said it to someone we all know really well. I said that to Luria. I was like, I'm making this big change. And she's like, no. I was like, what do you mean no? What do you mean no? And she was like, no, you're making a shift, but it's very small. You're just getting more specific. And I was like, really? And I kind of had to figure that out for myself, is the fact that it was a big enough shift that I needed to rebrand, but it was a small enough shift that everything I knew up to that point completely fed into it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you
Looks like he has a
experiencing that?
Oh,
What was that?
Yeah, I guess I was like, Paul looks like he has a thoughtful question. But since you brought this up,
No, go for it.
well, I guess he always kind of does.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was one of the updates that I said I'd mention at the end. But since we're talking about it, I'll share that I just made the decision recently and have started making changes of moving away from the name My Happy Insides, which I had had for a couple of years, and then starting to use my own name. And actually, Suzan was kind enough to share her own experience. We were able to talk about it and kind of explore what are the pros and cons and what are the things you have to consider. So that was really helpful. So I do want to say thank you, Suzan. But yeah, there's that, it's paying attention, and what you described early on of, you kind of know it doesn't just happen overnight. There's this little voice kind of saying, maybe you need to do this, and we can ignore it for a little while, but eventually we have to listen. And so that is what I am doing as well, is making that pivot. And for me, that adjustment is aligned with what I want. And also, when you switch to your name, and maybe you can speak to this, I feel like there's more freedom. you're not pigeonholed necessarily by a name that you chose to represent your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's called a personal brand. And, the benefit of it is it serves as an umbrella, and you can do anything you want. It really, nobody's like, oh, your name is, when I was the comm coach, but I got into marketing. It's like, well, I do approach marketing from a communication standpoint, but I have to explain that. Right. And it's, if it just belongs to you, then it's yours. And you can have 3 different things under it that are not related if you wanted to. I mean, it becomes anything you want. So I felt like I became, I want to say more me, but also more free to do the things that I was trying to do and just take it wherever I felt like taking it. I didn't have to plan on where I was headed. So,
yeah. Thanks for sharing.
So you had Susan, so you had the nagging thought in your head about changing, kind of like getting more into the niche of just working with introverts. Or how did that kind of...
So I got to introverts through authenticity. Okay. There was like a journey that was in there, and I can explain that when I decided to look at authenticity. So I'd been at 3 different conferences in 2 weeks, which is exhausting. I kept hearing this.
I was wondering if conferences were involved, because you were like, I kind of noticed my sister and my mother. I was curious if there's a conference.
Well, the noticing of my sister was that and my family in general, and that, oh, this is what's going on, was a little bit past it. The conferences, I kept hearing the word authenticity. We need to be more authentic in our marketing. We need to be more authentic. Authentic is the way to go. Mm-hmm. And I ran into a couple of those sessions where people didn't actually, they would use the word authenticity, but then use a different description, or it was like they didn't know what authenticity was, but they wanted more of it. And I started doing like a ton of research. I did like 6 months of research of what is this? What's the problem with it? What do we mean? And I ran a couple courses on it, and it felt untethered. It felt like authentic. Who, why, what, context. It was missing context. And it was from there. And I cannot tell you, I don't actually know how I got from authenticity to introverts. I think I found that introverts especially want to be authentic and are having trouble being authentic because they're trying to be extroverts in order to succeed, because that's who they see succeeding. And those are the methods of marketing that are really prevalent today. And so how can an introvert be authentic and be successful in their marketing without pretending they're an extrovert?
So when you wanted to start working more with introverts, is that one of the reasons you started live streaming? Because you're like, I know what introverts like. They're cool with lurking and watching a video and learning and then taking that knowledge. I mean, I don't know. Is that kind of part of it, or?
It's definitely worked really, really well as a communication device, but I started live streaming prior to at the beginning of this transition, when I was in my searching mode. I was probably in a searching mode for like a year and a half, maybe more. And it was in that searching mode that I stumbled across this idea of live streaming and videos. And we're shaking because my cat's running around and shaking everything up. Sorry. She's always part of the show. If not on the camera, she's behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I want to be part of this.
Who are we talking to? I want to play. Yeah. Hello.
So a couple days ago, on Monday, you did this great video about setting goals and then adjusting those goals. And I really, I loved it, because I thought one of the skills you have, and is this something you do on purpose, or is this just kind of naturally emerged and you're kind of running with it, is that you will bring up a topic and then you will very quickly talk about how that topic is affecting your personal business. Is that something that just kind of slowly emerged, or did you always have a plan to do that, to make it, here's kind of a deeper topic, but here's how it's very personal to me, to kind of bring in the viewer? I think it's a really great technique.
Thank you. It has emerged. It was not my intention. And when I started doing it, it was terrifying. And Lita actually is where I started really doing it. And that really is, here's the question, here's the question I'm asking, and here's my experience, and create context about it. But I'm going to give you a really back end secret there, Paul. I decided on the topic 5 minutes before I went live. And the only thing I knew was, all right, we're going to talk about how goals change and we need to be okay with that. Go.
Now that's like a pro move to be able to just say, this is what I'm doing. I'm just going to turn that camera on, press that button, and we're just going to talk about it.
That's actually the way I do most of my lives. Is I've got a skeleton. Having a skeleton is a lot of content prep for me. I often am like, here's the question, here's what I'm experiencing. I might have some notes if there's like 2 things I want to say. I mean, I've got that today where I'm like, oh, remember these words, just because I know what I tend to forget. And I go, and hopefully somebody shows up and I can have a conversation with them. But if they don't, I have no problems just rambling. No problems at all with that.
That's so, I love the fact you just like 5 minutes before you're like, this, and then just lean so hard into it. Cause that was like a 30-minute episode. So you were really deep diving into the idea of goals. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, and the thing is I've been struggling with the goal. I had a goal for Monday and I was like, I am not going to make it. Okay, let's go talk about that.
So something that I think, so what Paul commented on and what drew him to that is your ability to turn it into something personal. So you sort of personalize that topic, make it relevant in a way. If you can turn it into a story, people really connect with stories. And so actually, I think the beauty of you saying, hey, this is something I'm experiencing, I'm going to go talk about it, is that you are able then to connect with your audience by just being honest and being open and sharing what you're experiencing. And I think that really does translate to people. It connects more than if you were to just say, okay, what's a topic? What are my points, etc. And so as Paul experienced, there's that connection piece that happens when it's personalized in that way.
I'm really glad to hear that that's what's happening on the other side of the camera. That's absolutely my goal. But the people, that I think I'm bouncing off of with that are the ones who go out there and they're like, here are the 5 things that you need to do to be successful. And I often am like, and how do you know that? And I mean, did you just read that in a book or did you live this? How do you know that? And that's what I want to bring is, especially with my clients, and I certainly am talking, live in hopes of talking to people who are eventually going to be in the membership or something like that, or people I can help in some way. And my intention is, I know this because I've lived it and I'm living it right now. And I don't want to have any varnish. I really want it to be very, very real. So I'm glad that you're saying that it is, because that's absolutely my goal.
And you're very vulnerable to like talk about it. Is very vulnerable. And I think a lot of people, I was telling Kat this earlier, I think we all, because we were both watching another live stream earlier today and giggled over the word duty. And I told her, I think we're all just pretending to be adults. Like, that's just what we're doing. We're all pretending. We all don't know what we're doing. So for you to be so vulnerable, I'm gonna make this duty reference actually helpful and successful. That what you're doing and being so vulnerable, I think it connects with a lot of people. And I think it's like what CK said. We're all sitting in the same room having a conversation with you, and you're actually living this event that we get to kind of be there with you as you're growing.
I want to tell you where some of this came from, because it actually came pre-Lita. And as you're speaking about that, it kind of came to mind before Lita, before I ever attended a Lita, and I've attended.
Sorry, when I'm talking, I think about other things too. So
no, it triggered it. I swear to you, it triggered it. The other thing it triggered was when we were talking on Monday on the video you're talking about. We were talking about shift happens, and I was having a lot of trouble saying the word shift because I was really upset about changing my goal, and I was like, shift happens. Every time I said it, I was like really careful. And then I decided that no, we're actually going to cuss on this channel, and began doing so. But it's something that you just said that brought this to mind when I remember talking to Luria. So I know that you guys know Luria, I've been in like 5 different Litas. And prior to that, when I first stumbled on, when I first stumbled on Luria, she was doing a video talking about what's making us uncomfortable. And I responded with what makes me uncomfortable and the thing that's stopping me. And I hadn't gone live yet ever. And I was like, here's the thing that's scaring me. And can I tell you what it is? Is that all right? Can we talk about these things? It's the space between my teeth. I was like, what are people going to think? This is a problem. This is a problem, and I can't do anything about it. And she, on that video, had a conversation with me and said, she saw my comment, she brought it up, and she said, Susan, let's talk about this. Let's name 5 people who have a space between their teeth who are famous. And we just, and I felt noticed, and I felt important for a minute. And also she helped me move past that idea and kind of shift my brain about it. And that, I think, is carried with me every time I've gone live. That feeling that I had is one I want to give.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that you were able to be seen, even though you weren't actually seen, but you were in the comments and Luria engaged you like an important individual. And then she also challenged you by making you think about alternative ways that you can consider that situation and get over that hurdle that was keeping you back. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. And it is, our lives are just what we think they are. It's driven by what we believe and what we see and how we translate what we're experiencing. That means that we can change it. And she was doing that for me, just like I do that for my clients, but it's hard to do that for ourselves because we are living the life that we're living, la, 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 la. And we don't think, we can change that. And so having her challenge that reminded me of that and allowed me to shift that perspective and move forward past it, which was really, really powerful. And again, it's the kind of thing I do for my clients, but you don't, it's hard to do that kind of thing for yourself.
Wow. I love the idea that just kind of freeing you up and for change, because that does really just kind of free you. Are there things that, because you have been streaming for a while, things that you've stopped doing that no longer work? Like, how have you, and this is kind of putting you in the spot because I know this isn't one of the questions we gave, but are there things that you've changed that you began with? Yeah, I'd love to hear about that, like things you've kind of let go of in the process of doing more and more live.
I'm positive I have, because I know that it's evolved, but you've got me thinking. And all right, I'm going to answer it. It's going to be an interesting, let's see what we can do. I have let go of the idea. I have let go of the idea that I can't stream every week, because I lived for a long time with, I can't do every week. I can't do every week. And therefore, every few weeks I'd stop for large gaps of time, and then I'd start up again. And I just had to get my head around, what does it take and how can I do it? And when in my schedule can I do it? And how am I going to come up with the content? Every question that I had, I needed to find an answer for. And the biggest one was, what am I going to talk about? So I've got a whole bank of ideas. If I literally am like, I have no idea what to talk about, I can go to this bank of ideas and pull one out of it. And I've gone to it less and less over time, because I've found that I have something to talk about. Like, let's talk about goals. Whatever's going on in my life is probably going on in everyone else's life somewhere. Right? So let's just talk about that thing. As long as it's related to my business, if I can bring it into either marketing or into introversion, we've got a topic. So letting go of the things that I thought were stopping me, because I kept stopping because of them.
Interesting. I really love the idea that you realized, oh, I'm a human being and other people are human beings. And if it's affecting me, it's probably affecting them in some way. So I'll just talk about the things that are affecting me.
Yeah. With the struggle I have is that I'm not as much an introvert as the clients I help. I mean, that's a good thing, because it actually puts me in a position to be able to help them from outside of the problem that they're having. But I'm not necessarily experiencing the things that they are. So I've got to lean into that and draw from my clients as well. That's my resource for that topic is, what are my clients struggling with, especially with introversion. But, if it's immediate, it's interesting. Have you ever noticed that on places like Facebook or wherever you are in social media, that problems come in clusters? And that no one person is having it, like everyone's having a bad Monday or everyone burned dinner tonight or something like that. It just it doesn't happen to one person. And so that's kind of what I'm leaning into, this idea that these problems do cluster and there are rhythms to them and we're all experiencing them all at once.
So speaking of cluster, when you mentioned the gap in your teeth and you're like, that was the thing holding you back, that is legit my biggest fear too. That's my thing. So when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, I'm not alone. Interesting. So as
I should tell you.
Yeah.
No, so I'm with you on that, Paul. And I should tell you that there's a later conversation during Lita in this last Lita, I think, or the one before it, conversation between me and Luria about that whole thing. So it had come back up again. And she said it was the gap. And I want you to know this. She said it was the gap in my teeth and that conversation that made me stand out, so that she noticed me more. And it was part of how I ended up being a mod in their world, is because she knew exactly who I was and it helped me stand out in a positive way.
Interesting.
So yeah, it was interesting. I still don't like it.
I think that, but I think what that does, and we've talked about this a few times with other guests on this show, is that you made the decision to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is often what connects us to other people. It's not being perfect and having all of your shit together. It is that idea of, I'm a human, I struggle with things. And when we put ourselves out there and we share our struggles, other people say, oh, I'm not alone. Me too. I mean, that's what people love when our tech glitches on the show and when we struggle with it, because they're like, oh, good. We all have that little assurance that, okay, we don't all have it figured out. And so I think you being vulnerable and choosing to share that fear that you had with Luria was a connection point, and it's noticeable. It's not the same as if someone just has all of the answers all of the time. That's not necessarily going to connect with people the same way.
Yeah. In fact, that person, if they have all the answers, is not being real, because they don't. And I think Paul said it earlier, we are all only living by the seat of our pants right now. We all are just making it up as we go. And that's a social media post I've been meaning to put up on my own social media recently, because I've been feeling that way. We are all just making it up as we go. And anybody who's not is faking that completely.
Yeah.
We're all a bunch of duty gigglers. Anyways, I have a serious question. What would you give advice for new streamers?
I think that I would just make sure, sorry, I've got like this itch that's driving me crazy. For new streamers, it's, don't worry about the tech so much. Just don't worry about it, and if the tech is getting in your way, it's more of a mental block, right? The thing that I really carry forward with me is that, and we've learned this in these last two Litas that we did, but also can you tell I learned a lot in the Litas, but I need to upgrade my tech desperately, and that's not stopping me. And the thing that I really, the one thing that really, that for me has been a very big learning, and you guys are totally speaking to it, is dare to say the things that are on your mind. It's taken me a long time to get there, because I feel vulnerable, because that stuff is scary to say. I have these really big thoughts. Nobody wants to hear these really big thoughts. No one wants to hear this deep stuff. And I tend to take the long way around the tree when I'm talking about it. Nobody wants to hear that. To be clear, nobody who knows me wants to hear that, because they want to have part of the conversation. But when you're on live streaming, taking a long way around the tree actually makes a video useful, because you just kind of keep talking. That was a really long answer, Paul.
No, I love it. And I love a new phrase I can put in my pocket: a long way around the tree. I'm keeping that one. That's great.
So I do want to say for anyone, I know most of the people who are with us right now are familiar with Lita, but if you are watching this and you have no idea what we're talking about, it is live every day in August and April. And so the next one is coming up in April, and it's hosted by Live Streaming Pros. And Suzan is a moderator with Live Streaming Pros. And the reason it comes up so much is that it is this really intense. Every day you're showing up in this private group, a really safe space, but you grow immensely in those 30 or 31 days. And it's really powerful. So if you are watching this and you are not familiar with that, that is what it is. Put it in your calendar. Even if you don't live stream, even if you're an introvert and you're someone who would work with Suzan, we want to make sure that everyone who thinks they want to grow in that way, and it really is just, I can't speak highly enough about it. And I know that Andy has our countdown. There it is. 120 days from today's live stream.
Gosh.
Wow. Oh.
4 months. 4 months.
Time is flying. Wow. 120 days.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
I feel like
we're
woo.
I just feel old. I just remember like when it was like 200 plus days. I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Nice. So we've got less than 30 days to the year, which is I'm saying thank God. So yeah.
Fresh start. Paul, what are the other, I know you have the list in front of you. Is there anything else we really want to hear from Suzan before we wrap this up today?
Boy, you know, it'd be as a host, as a good host, I should probably email the list of questions to a co-host. That would be thoughtful. That is something I should do.
Copy. I do have a copy. I just don't have them open.
I was gonna Kat, I was gonna take the hit. And say I really dropped the ball there.
Yeah, no, it's just me not having it ready.
So I guess my question, Suzan, if you had a co-host that was unprepared, what was? I'm kidding. So here's a question, and I feel you are honest, and I am very curious to hear. I mean, all our guests are honest, but I think you love kind of really exploring the really authentic stuff. What is an awkward moment that you've had live streaming before that you're like, well, that happened?
What's nice is I do have the list actually, so I could just answer the questions. The awkward moment for me, actually, the most recent one, and there are always, I mean, first of all of them. Every time you're on live, you're like, awkward. But I just did a live stream with one of my clients, and I was helping her to launch a book, and it was like the big launching thing, and it was all awesome. And, you know, especially they're representing a client. When I go live on my channel, for me, sorry, the cat just does what she does. When I go live, I don't care as much. I'll put my hair up or in a baseball cap. I never wear makeup. I'm at home. I rarely leave the house. I don't care so much. I mean, I feel like as long as I look presentable. But this was for my client, so I wanted to look presentable. And the whole time, we were on there for over an hour, and the whole time I can see the video and I'm like, oh my God, my hair looks terrible. What am I doing? What did I do? I can't even put it up. And the whole time I'm like beating myself up about it. And it's like, not only does nobody care, but I got an email from my client confirming that everything was wonderful and it was fun, and she's an introvert. She can't believe she had fun with it. Everyone thought it was fun. So nobody notices the hair debacle going on at my end that was like totally interrupting. And that just goes back to, even when you've been doing this for years, you'll notice there's something and it'll just bug you the whole time. And it's nothing on anyone else's radar.
That is awesome.
But you've never experienced that, right?
Oh, me? No, everything always clicks into place perfectly.
That's funny. Well, I think I shared this with a few people, but the show that we had with CK, where the tech just was not cooperating, and so we pivoted at the very last minute and switched to me running through Ecamm with the interview feature for the first time ever, and then getting that message in the middle from YouTube. I watched that back and realized that what I was experiencing on the inside, which was a ton of adrenaline, nerves like crazy. And when I watched it back, I thought, oh, this is not even at all what the audience is experiencing. But when your body has this signal of, oh boy, things aren't going right. You've got the adrenaline, you've got the stress, it's jacked up, and it gives you a very different, distorted perception of what is actually happening for the other person on the other end.
And that reminds me of the tech problem that we had. And Andy witnessed this because he was there. He was running like mods in the background with me, him and another friend, Kathleen, just because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So because I was the first time I was on the interview thing. We had the countdown at the beginning. We had music at the beginning. It was great. And then when that switched to the next one, I got this, it just told me that it had ended. We had just begun, and then I got this message that it had ended in front of me, and I was like, I think it just stopped. I can't tell. I don't know. And it was probably more than 30 seconds that this was happening, and I thought literally it had ended. And I had some notes, and I had a shared document with the mods, and I think it was Kathleen that wrote, "Breathe." Because I was like, okay, we're going to start another one. We're going to send this, and I need you to do this link. And she wrote, "Breathe." And I was like, okay, I should breathe. And it started. And it was like, do you want to continue? And I was like, yes, dear God, I want to continue. And it started back up. And we just began and we continued on. And the number count was very close. I think we'd had 26. We were down at 23. And I was like, okay, we lost 3 people. That's fine. And we just kept going. And I went back and watched this. In the video, in the replay, it just kind of jumps. That's it. It's like it's not even there. And I think Andy was saying it just was spinning for them for a little while. But you're right. On your end, you're like, the world is ending.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
Oh my God. Oh, I hate those.
It's all part of the process. There you go. There, friends.
You just gotta pick your heart up. You just gotta pick your heart up and put it back in your chest and keep going.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the more we experience those moments, and then if we take the time to watch it back, we will learn a valuable lesson that even when your heart is jumping out of your chest, just keep going, because it's probably not what people are seeing. It might look a little different. You might be able to tell, but it's not nearly as pronounced as we think it's going to be.
Yeah. And one of the things here, I think, is our emotional investment in, especially if we've put time and effort and you've got, like you're saying, a vision of what it was supposed to look like. That's where a lot of that emotional turmoil really, really comes to. And so if you can even emotionally separate yourself from it, you might have less of a traumatic experience when that stuff goes down. But yeah, it's just, I think you get used to your heart jumping out of your chest.
And I like what you mentioned, how you said you went back and watched and it was just kind of like, it kind of spun for a second. I think a really good thing that helps me is, and I don't like to go back and watch myself, but if you go back and watch that moment that you thought was so horrible, it's almost like when you were a little kid and you're like, that movie was so scary, I'll never go back and watch it. But as an adult, you're like, oh, that's nothing like what actually happened. So it's actually really helpful.
Wizard of Oz. That's the Wizard of Oz right there. So.
Was it the flying monkeys that scared you? What got you?
God. Okay. Secret, they still do, but
they're very aggressive. They're very aggressive.
For me, maybe it was the Michael Jackson Thriller video when that came out, and I saw it way too young. But I was gonna say it was still kind of scary. They did a pretty good job actually with the Thriller video.
Did you ever see Michael Jackson Captain EO at Disneyland?
I don't think so.
Oh man, that scared me as a little kid because he had to fight like trash. Like there was a creature that was like made out of trash. Boy, Michael Jackson danced his way out of that.
Getting a really weird visual image right now with what you were describing.
It's got to be out there on YouTube. I'll find it and send it to you. Captain EO, Michael Jackson. It's not scary, but when I was a little kid, pretty scary.
That's funny.
Anyways, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I was really nervous, but this has been fun.
Yeah, this was awesome. So
Yeah.
awesome. Everybody, give it up for Suzan CZ. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I love that talk about vulnerability, because I think that's a really big piece of connecting with your audience and connecting with other people.
Mhm.
That and talking about grilled cheese.
Oh, nice segue. Please continue.
I haven't forgotten.
And
Okay,
nobody
you
else, I'm
ready?
sure, in the comments has either. They're all waiting.
Okay, this was the grilled cheese experiment that I tried. So I went out and I got some goat cheese that was inspired directly by Callie mentioning goat cheese. She had mentioned cranberries, but I didn't have that. So I ended up pickling some red onions in just kind of a quick pickle, putting them in a little apple cider vinegar. And then I had some spinach. So I had spinach, goat cheese, and these pickled red onions. But what I did differently is a friend had mentioned that she had heard a rumor that you should make your grilled cheese with mayo on the outside instead of butter. So I Googled it. And I thought, okay, there's something to this. Putting a little mayo, let me know in the comments if anyone has done that. Put mayo instead of butter on the outside of your bread to grill it. And then what I did is I put the mayo and then I sprinkled a little bit of Parmesan and some like garlic powder, just a little. And then you put butter in the pan, you let the butter melt, and then I put the sandwich in there, and it got all kind of crispy, but had the Parmesan crust with a little garlic flavor. It was delicious. That was my sandwich. I don't know if that sounds appetizing to anyone else but me.
That sounds
but
amazing.
That's what I tried.
That sounds so good. Does anybody know? Please tell me, because as soon as we can actually travel again, I want to go to a place that is like an all grilled cheese sandwich restaurant. How is that not a thing? That has to be a thing. Is that a thing?
I think we had one in where I live, which actually Callie used to live in the same city as me. But I think it was an after bar, just grilled cheese place that people would go. We have 2 universities and a college in the town, and so people would go and get their grilled cheese on after leaving the bar. I don't know if it's still around. We've lost a lot of businesses of that nature ever since we had to shut some things down. But yeah, Kitchener for the win.
That is 100% a college town restaurant, grilled cheese. That should just be a chain that looks for college towns and opens them right there. That is $1 million idea.
And you know what? Suzan said in Boston there's a grilled cheese food truck. Actually, there is a grilled cheese food truck, Faux Cheesy, and it's down the street from me. Now, that's where the actual owner lives, so the truck is parked down the street from me a lot. But that's not where they actually sell the grilled cheese. That kind of moves all around the city.
Faux Cheesy? Faux real.
Yeah.
It's down there?
Faux real.
Faux real?
Yeah.
Sounds like I got to get into a plane and travel, because nothing around here. They have them in Boston.
Yeah, Callie, what do you think? Maybe we can have a little get together in Kitchener-Waterloo when the borders open again. That would be fun.
Oh my gosh. If they're greatest
And Andy's
restaurant...
been here too. Andy's been to Kitchener-Waterloo as well.
Greatest restaurant.
Oh,
idea.
That's smart.
Dang, deviled eggs are the best.
Deviled advocate. I like that a lot. You were pretty close to a deviled eggs today for your lunch.
Yeah, it was a poor man's deviled egg. It was a deviled egg with somebody who doesn't have time to devil that egg. It's good.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
There is a place, real quick, if you're looking for good food, if anybody is traveling to Seattle at some point in the future, there is a place called Biscuits, BITCH. Delicious. So good. So if you like biscuits, and if they can make a place that specializes all biscuits, there's got to be more places that specialize in grilled cheese. There should be more, at least. I don't know. These are my thoughts.
People People love, I mean, maybe not lactose intolerant people, but people love a good grilled cheese. Every time in university, when it was grilled cheese day, people would go nuts. They'd line up huge lines to get grilled cheese on grilled
Flipping
cheese day.
over cars. Yes. Yeah, they're good.
So the one other update, because I know we want to try and wrap this up. Usually we try like to keep it in the hour. Is that I am, maybe I'll talk more about this next week, but yesterday I had a big brainstorm session for some of the content that I'm going to be rolling out with the adjustment. So moving from My Happy Insides to Cat Mulvihill allows me to open up a little bit more of the topics that I teach about. And really it is continuing to teach. It's just going to be a slightly different focus. So yesterday I had this outpouring of content ideas of things that I want to be able to teach and show. And so I want to figure out what I'm going to do live versus what will be maybe recorded. But I have a newfound enthusiasm. And for those of you who kind of been around for a few weeks, you might have noticed that I stopped doing my Wednesday lives because I wanted to figure out what I was doing. I think that was part of it. And so I'm pretty excited that got a lot of ideas brewing.
That is cool. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you feel reinvigorated and excited and ideas are pouring out. That's the best. Honestly, being able not to sleep because you have so many ideas, that's exciting. That's cool.
It is.
Awesome.
No one else knows that it was my insomnia work, but
That's true.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, you're right.
That's okay. It's okay that everyone knows that I could not sleep last night. So I got up and I just 4 pages of stuff just poured on out of me. That's good to me. I want more sleep, but
Also, an important lesson, don't tell me things because I can't keep my mouth shut. I mentioned, sorry about that.
It's all good. We're here to be honest. I could not sleep. I wrote lots of content ideas. That's what I do at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Well, last night I went to bed, but before that I let one of the cats into the bedroom, but very quickly realized it was the wrong cat because this cat was far too muscular. I was like, wait a second, you're the wrong cat. Because it was standing on me as I was laying there, and I'm like, you got too many muscles. You're not the right cat. But I was also too tired to get up, so I had a different cat hang out with us last night. Oh, what an exciting story.
All right, friends. That's awesome. This is what people are here for.
They're here for muscular cat stories. It is like the new cat is kind of Puma-esque in that the way he walks, he always looks like, like when you see somebody in high school and they're always like walking down the hall and you're like, we get it, you have muscles. That's the way this cat kind of walks. So,
okay. I feel like we might need a little guest spot for your muscular cat on this show.
I'll shoot some video. I got nothing else going on. I'm not fixing elaborate meals. I'm fixing eggs. I got time to film some cats. Real quick, the thing that I'm working on this week is filming a cat, but also I have I wanted to do more green screen stuff, but I'm tired of using this wide 16 millimeter lens. It's very hard. I feel very boxed in with the green screen. I can't really move around very much. So what I did was I bought a very long
rod.
Yes, thank you very much. I bought a very long rod, and I have a green screen, and I'm going to hang it in the back. So I'm going to have much more room doing green screen stuff, which will be fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's... JV, 10 points for cat. Ding, ding.
Yep. Could not think of those complex words. This is fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, I really enjoyed today. I am so glad that we got to talk to Susan, and we will be back next week, same time, same place. Maybe there'll be a muscular cat. Maybe we'll find out if dragon changed Paul's life. Who knows?
So many things. And if you want to check out Susan's video, there's a link again in the description. They're awesome, super helpful. Follow her. And yeah, Kat, have an amazing week.
Thank you. You too.